Haribol, Namaste, Krishna. So I'll just chant for a little bit and then Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 10. Namo Vishnupataya Shapastaya Bhutale Shrimate Sira Sarutama Amahasitinavane Om Vishnupataya Shapastaya Bhutale Shrimate Sira Sarutama Sira Sarupananda Amahansa Namine Korakaruna Sarupaya Radha-Krishna Prasthayate Namo Sira Sarupananda Amahansa Namine Korakaruna Sarupaya Radha-Krishna Prasthayate Sira Sarupananda Amahansa Namine Korakaruna Sarupaya Radha-Krishna Prasthayate Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Devasesha Sunyavadi Askachari Satarine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Devasesha Sunyavadi Askachari Satarine Ajishi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sariko Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Sariko Bhaktavinda Krishna Vrindavan. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikasatara Satta Shishimad Jagakuru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikasatara Satta Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Guru Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Goswal Mission Ki Jai. Navadvita Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Mayapodam Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Amagina Timarandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanan Pavenvyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. For speaking, first to offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagakuru Siddhasarupananda Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, who is very dear to Radha and Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the fallen living entities, and are full of compassion upon them. Haribol, Namaste. Krishna Krishna. Thanks for joining me, watching now and watching later. As I often say I really appreciate the opportunity to, have someone listen, because that gives me the opportunity to speak on Bhagavad Gita, to share my, to share the the love I have for Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, I constantly realize, of course, that my understanding of Bhagavad Gita is very incomplete, so I hope you'll forgive me for being so arrogant as to think I can speak on this beautiful work by Srila Vyasadeva, which he's planted within the climactic moment of the Mahabharata. Just when everybody's attention is on what is going to happen, is Arjuna going to fight, then Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita. So right at the climactic moment. And so this Srimad Bhagavad Gita, of course, is the perfect summary of the Vedic literatures, which is then expanded upon in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful book of the Supreme Lord, which Bhagavad Gita builds to the point where one should surrender to Krishna and engage in bhakti yoga, devotional service. And Srimad Bhagavatam takes off from that point and explains in great depth bhakti yoga, along with various other topics, but doesn't really go into again explaining about Kama Yoga, although there's various sections in Bhagavatam that explain the Varnashrama system. And of course in the Uddhava Gita, which makes up the majority of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna again speaking to his friend and relative Uddhava, in many ways re-explains Bhagavad Gita, although Uddhava Gita is quite different in many ways. But anyway, I guess my point is that Bhagavad Gita, is well known as a summary of the Vedic literatures, and when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada came to the West, he initially came with the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He'd spent several years translating and commenting upon the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he'd actually written an English translation and commentary on Bhagavad Gita, but somehow it got stolen from his house. When he was living with his wife and children, somehow it went missing. And so this was, if you can only imagine how disturbing that would be, how to have spent so much energy writing and commenting upon Bhagavad Gita, only to have it go missing. So anyway, so once he came to New York, and then he decided to write Bhagavad Gita as it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is, of course, is as it is, meaning as Krishna means it. So many, he comments that other versions of Bhagavad Gita that have been translated, they were sort of scholarly, where they don't really sort of understand what's going on. They're not written from a devotional attitude, or there were versions by impersonalists saying that Krishna is not the Supreme Lord, which of course, is completely nonsense. Bhagavad Gita is the song of Bhagavan. And who is Bhagavan? Bhagavan is Sri Krishna. So to translate or comment upon Bhagavad Gita without a firm understanding and realization that Krishna is Ishvara, the Supreme Person, or Bhagavan, the person full of all opulences, is like a nonsense proposition. So anyway, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, gave us the Bhagavad Gita as it is, which we speak from. So anyway, so we're continuing on our journey through chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And we're up to verse 10. So this again is in the sequence of verses, the second sequence of verses within this chapter 5. In the first sequence, Krishna is responding to Arjuna's question about, do you want me to, I'm confused about what it is you want me to do. Do you want me to fight, or do you want me to renounce action? I'm confused about what you want me to do. Please tell me what is Shreyas, what is most auspicious for me. And, Krishna describes that action, or karma yoga, is better than what he calls, at this point in Bhagavad Gita, what he calls Sankhya, which is normally taken to be the analysis. But in this context that Krishna is speaking, he also used it to refer to sannyas, and jnana yoga and meditation yoga, so the path of sort of analysis and renunciation. But he says to Arjuna, the conclusion in verse 6 in that sequence, that no, karma yoga is best. Engaging in action is best. It's easier. It's more practical. It's, and he also explained that it's the same, that the path of renunciation or sannyas yoga or sankhya, jnana yoga, is the same as karma yoga. They're both heading towards the same goal. They're rungs on the yoga ladder. We need to have a comprehensive, so Krishna helps us to understand a comprehensive view of the yoga ladder. All steps on the yoga ladder are leading towards Krishna, the Supreme Person. And so different people are at different stages of their spiritual life. And also it relates to the stage of life that a person is in. We all have our own, what's known as swadharma. Our dharma is our duty, our responsibilities, our, and it's generally related towards the varnashram system. We have a certain occupation. So if we have a particular occupation, then that's our duty, and we should fulfill it. We should do it. So often, so many times, people, they have a particular job or a particular occupation, but they're not very into it. They don't put their heart into it. So while they're doing it, they're thinking of something. I'd rather be doing something else. Or maybe they're feeling disgruntled. Oh, my boss not treating me fairly, so I'm not going to put everything into it. But there's the Vedic concept of dharma is that, one should fulfill one's duties. We have an obligation. It's our function. So we should do it. If we're going to do it well. It's kind of like a saying, but it's actually based in the concept of dharma. If you're going to do it well. Don't do a half-hearted job. Now, of course, and the second aspect of varnashrama is one's ashrama, one's status of life. As either as a brahmachari, a student, or a householder. So if one's a householder, then one must take responsibility for one's family, one's children, one's spouse, one's parents. And then as one gets older, one then retires. It's like I'm kind of getting to this retirement age. It's kind of like, oh, well, I'm getting close. I'm done with working. Time to retire. Children have grown up. Unfortunately, children still seem to want things or need attention or whatever, advice and assistance. But it's not like when they're young and they're totally dependent on you for their support. And then the ultimate stage of in the Varnashram system is sannyas, renunciation, where one gives up family connection altogether. Now, of course, this is dharma or duty in relation to the stage of life and occupation of this particular body. So this is not one's eternal dharma or sanatan dharma. Sanatan dharma, one's real dharma, one's real swadharma, is to serve Krishna. We're part and parcel of Krishna. Our function is to render service to him. Right? That's everyone's real dharma. So this Varnashram dharma, is temporary. It's not our real dharma, not our real duty. But the Varnashram system is established by Krishna. Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 13, that he's the creator of this, of the four Varnas. Krishna is the creator of this system. And this system is beneficial. In fact, following the Varnashram system is one aspect of karma yoga, engaging in activities for the pleasure of the Supreme. And it's purifying. For example, to get married, marriage is a fantastic institution that provides so many benefits to society. Prevents men running around trying to exploit women, and women being without spouses and trying to exploit men. Having children outside of wedlock, which generally means or may mean that there's no father actively involved. So then the children, and not in every situation, but oftentimes the children then are not very well disciplined, and they cause trouble in society. This is like a major problem on the mainland USA. There's all kinds of, there's, lots of ghettos where there's no fathers actively involved and bring out their children. This leads to gangs, and because kids, boys, they want a strong father figure in their life. And if they don't have a father figure in their life, then they join a gang. And the gang becomes the father, or the gang leader becomes the father. Of course, this is like just a terrible situation. Anyway, so Krishna is saying, do duty. This is better. Perform your duty. Karma yoga. This is better than renunciation. Right? Like oftentimes, like if a person wants to renounce, it's like, oh man, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. It's too hard. I'm not into it anymore. I don't want to do it. So this is like a false renunciation. This is not real renunciation. Within the Varnashram system, as a person ages, it becomes natural to renounce. You don't have responsibility for children anymore, and maybe the children are grown up, and that they can take care of the wife. Of course, in today's society, like the whole kind of family system is broken down, and now the government is like the husband, right? The government provides money to the spouse, or the government provides retirement benefits. And not that there's anything wrong with retirement benefits, but in the Vedic system, the family was the support system. Anyway, I'm a little bit off track, but we'll move on from there. So Krishna establishes engaging in karma yoga, action. This is better, and he's not karma yoga in the sense of nishkama karma yoga, acting without attachment to the results, offering the results to the Supreme Lord, to Krishna, fulfilling one's role in the Varnashram Dharma system out of knowing that this system is created by the Supreme Lord for our benefit, and this is what he wants us to do, and so I do that because it's the right thing. I do it out of a sense of duty. I'm not concerned. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. I'm not doing it because I'm going to get to enjoy myself, or I'm going to get to enjoy my senses by doing this. It's no, I do it. I have this sense of responsibility we talk about sometimes there's this concept of servant leadership, that a person in a leadership role, their functional duty is to serve, not to dominate and exploit and enjoy. Right? So it's a selfless concept. Karma yoga is selflessness, selfless action. I'm not concerned about my own enjoyment from doing this action. That's not why I'm doing something. And ultimately, so bhakti yoga is a higher level, contains within it karma yoga, but bhakti yoga is, I'm doing it out of love, to please Krishna. Whatever I do it to please the Supreme Lord, to please Krishna. Is this pleasing to my spiritual master and Krishna? Then I do it. If it's not, well, no, I don't do it. And what is this idea of doing something to be pleasing? It's out of love, because I love that person. I want to please them, not out of duty or obligation or responsibility, or it's the right thing to do. Now, of course, all these kind of things are helpful. Initially we might take to the path of yoga, and we're doing it because, I hear that if I do this will actually make me happy. The goal of life is to link up with the Supreme, and if you do that, you'll experience incredible bliss. And so then I'm motivated out of a sense of, I want to taste that bliss, or I'm miserable, I'm on a bummer, and this path is offering liberation and happiness, and so I'm going to pursue this path. So I'm thinking about it from my point of view, out of desire for mukti, or a desire for blissfulness. So this is not bhakti, but this gets a person started on the path. So then higher than that is the sense of doing something out of a sense of obligation or duty or responsibility, because at least there's selflessness involved in that. I'm doing the right thing because this is the way Krishna has organized things, and so I need to do it that way. And so I'm not really thinking about myself, I'm thinking in a selfless way, but still I'm not motivated out of love. So then the highest, which is what bhakti yoga is, raganuga bhakti, is being motivated out of spontaneous love. I love Krishna and I want to please him. Whatever he wants, that's what I want to do. I love everything about Krishna. I love hearing about his pastimes. I love engaging in deity worship. I understand that Krishna is non-different from his deity form, and so I love to worship him and wake him in the morning and put him to rest at night, to make offerings to him. I'm not doing it out of some sort of sense so that, I make offerings so that then I get to eat prasadam, or, there isn't this sort of sense of duty or obligation. I'm doing it out of love. So anyway, so Krishna established at the end of this first 6 verses that karma yoga is best for people. That's what we should do. And the next sequence of verses is text 7 to 12. This is working without attachment. And so in text 7, Krishna, emphasized again that one who works in devotion or karma yoga, who's a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So here Krishna's stressing again, as he does throughout Bhagavad Gita, the importance of controlling the senses. Controlling the mind and controlling the senses. And that one who works in devotion, karma yoga, for the pleasure of others, selflessly, is dear to everyone. And by working in this way, they're not entangled. Then in the text we discussed last week, Krishna said a person in the divine consciousness, and this was yukta, yoga, union. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. So we discussed last week how this is referring to an understanding that I'm not the body, I'm not the doer. All of this is happening. Like, the breathing, the blinking, right? These are the obvious sort of things that we can understand. Well, I'm not doing them, they're just happening by themselves. Material nature is operating. And so actually this is the fact of everything with the body. You're spirit soul, we're spirit soul. We're not the body, we're not the subtle body either. We're pure spirit soul. We have nothing to do with matter. We're completely separate and apart from the material body. So we can, as I discussed last week, sort of like a meditation. It's like, well, I'm not the hand. It's like the basic meditation class that Prabhupada has given us many years, decades ago. As I'm, you can go through each part of the body and realize I'm not that part of the body. So it's not me hand, it's my hand. So similarly, I'm not the doer. All right, so we'll discuss more about this in future verses. About, well, who is the doer then? If I'm not the doer, who is the doer? But it's like we're identifying, so ahankara. See, I am not the doer, right? I'm not the doer. This is hankara, real ego, understanding, right? Ahankara, false ego, is thinking that I am the doer. So what does this mean? This I am is thinking that I am this body and I am this subtle body and this mind and intelligence, and it's contaminated mind and intelligence and consciousness, and we're identifying with the body and we're thinking that's us, and so therefore I'm entangled. And so this brings us to the next verse where Krishna said, and this is a wonderful verse, one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So there's four wonderful points here, which I'm going to expand upon as we discuss the Sanskrit. But as I was thinking about this class, I'm preparing for this class, and thinking about this verse over the past couple of days, I sort of remembered, which is kind of obvious, but sometimes I lose sight of it, is Krishna is speaking. He's speaking to Arjuna. Right? And as I mention regularly, Arjuna's like on the battlefield here, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to fight. He's worried that if he does fight, he's going to incur sinful reactions. He says to Krishna in chapter 1, Krishna, I've heard through disciplic succession. This is a bit like sometimes, people say, oh, I heard Prabhupada say. Or sometimes they'll even say to Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada once you said. So we're like wanting to establish a point, right? Maybe we're sort of a little bit off base a little bit, and we're sort of using the authority of Prabhupada either to someone else or even to him directly. And it's like, so Arjuna is saying, I've heard through disciplic succession. I mean, Arjuna, what are you talking about? Krishna is the original Supreme Person. All disciplic successions come from him. All of them. Whether it's we're coming within the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? So we talk about Brahma as being, it's the Brahma Sampradaya, right? But actually it's not really the Brahma Sampradaya, it's the Krishna Sampradaya, because Krishna enlightened Brahma This is the 4 seed verses within the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text 33 to 36, right? The 4 seed verses, the Chaito Shloki. And in the other sampradayas, like the Sri Sampradaya, which is coming from Lakshmi. But who's Lakshmi? Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune, the wife of Lord Vishnu. So again, coming from Krishna. Lord Vishnu, of course, is the expansion of Krishna, non-different. Or the Kumara Sampradaya. Well, who are they hearing from? They're hearing from Lord Vishnu. The 4th Sampradaya, trying to anyway, I can't remember right now who their original person in their sampradaya is. Anyway, I'll remember it later on. Anyway, the point is, all sampradayas are coming from Krishna. Krishna is the original person. So, of course, it's nonsense for Arjuna to be quoting disciplic succession to Krishna to try and use that as his out for not having to engage in the fight. So he's very concerned about sinful reaction, right? And so Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita. It's a conversation, of course, a song, a Gita, or as Arjuna calls it in chapter 18, text 70, Dhamyam Samvada, or Krishna calls it a Dhamyam Samvada. This conversation about Dhamma, well, this sacred conversation. So he's speaking to Arjuna in Arjuna's situation. So in this verse here, Krishna is saying that if you act in Kama Yoga, Nishkama Kama Yoga, without attachment, and offering the results to Brahman, in this case taking Brahman, the Sanskrit here is Brahmanya daya kamani sangam tyakta kariti lipyate nasapapena padma patra mivam basa. Brahmanya daya kamani sangam tyakta kariti lipyate nasapapena padma patram mivam basa. So lipyate napapena, this means you're not tainted by sin. Papena is sin or evil or wrong. Right? And lipyate, na lipyate, na means never or not, and lipyate is affected or smeared or befouled. So Arjuna's concern is, oh man, I'm going to be covered in sin. In fact, he even tells Krishna, and we'll go to hell. Right? I've heard by disciplic succession that one who destroys the family, the Kula Dhamma, the Kula of the dynasty, dwells always in hell, right? Because the reactions of destroying family dynasty is bad. Right? We were talking earlier about, people in gangs and ghettos and so on. So, if the family dynasty is destroyed, Arjuna was quoting how, the women will be unprotected and there'll be vana sankara, unwanted progeny. And this will be bad. There won't be, when society is functioning well, then there's like charitable works going on. Establishment of wells and planting of trees. This is like, Vedic society is very ecological, right? Planting of trees. What are we doing today? We're removing trees. In the Amazon, they're chopping down trees as fast as they possibly can. Why are they doing it? Well, then they're planting soy and corn, genetically modified corn and soy. And why are they doing this? Well, it's animal feed. To put the animals in the big feedlots, the cows, in huge feedlots, and feed them this grain. In a very illogical thing of like feeding cows and other animals huge amounts of corn and soy and huge amounts of water to produce a pound of beef. Something like, it requires some huge amount of water and some huge amount of feed to produce 1 pound of a beef steak. So the whole thing doesn't make sense. There's this thing called regenerative agriculture, and it's based on that the soil, topsoil, these modern methods of farming are destroying the soil, and the topsoil is all getting blown away, and through over-tilling and monocropping and using pesticides and insecticides. And so this regenerative agriculture is about regenerating the soil. And how do they do this? By not tilling very much, and or not tilling, just sort of breaking the soil enough to plant seeds within it. They've got special equipment that does that. And rotating crops, and and other practices. One of the practices is grazing animals, because unfortunately they're going to eat the animals, but the animals have a much better life than they do in the feedlots. And as they're wandering around dropping manure everywhere, they're fertilizing the soil and regenerating soil. And within the soil, when the soil's regenerated, there's healthy soil. Healthy soil means there's all kinds of microbes and bacteria and whatever in the soil. And the soil, healthy soil, absorbs carbon. And there's the whole big thing about concern about carbon. But anyway, healthy soil absorbs carbon. And if there's crops on there all the time and green, then that's absorbing carbon. And so they're showing like these regenerative agriculture farms, which of course are also organic farms, are, they're green and lush. And animals are all coming back, beavers and whatever. Anyway, I'm sort of way off track here. But the reason why I'm bringing it up, I was bringing it up originally, was because, in Vedic society, the planting of trees is very important. This is like considered a great welfare work, right? Because trees are wonderful. They're breathing out oxygen and breathing in carbon and taking the carbon and putting it in the soil. And it's providing shade, and trees actually attract rain. If you have a landscape with no trees, ultimately it becomes desert, and then the rainfall dries up. So anyway, the Vedic system was very, very perfect. Anyway, so Arjuna is worried, of course, that he's going to destroy all this, because he's going to engage in this war, and he's going to kill all these people, and the whole world's going to go to hell in a handbasket, as Prabhupada termed it. And so this is bad now. But now Krishna is telling him, no, look, mate, listen, Arjuna. This kind of Australianism, look, mate. Arjuna, give up attachment, sangam tyaktva. Give up attachment. Offer the results to the Supreme Lord, to Brahman. And then you won't experience any sinful reactions, any papena, any papam. Just like a lotus, so he's giving this example for Arjuna, just like a lotus flower rises above the water, is not touched by the water. And also, the lotus leaf and the flower, if you wet it, if you wet the lotus leaf, the water just rolls off it, doesn't affect it. Like the leaf doesn't get wet. It's quite amazing, right? The lotus flowers and lotus leaves, they're quite amazing. Anyway, but the lotus leaf doesn't get wet. So this is the example that Krishna is giving, that you won't be affected by sin. Just like water doesn't wet a lotus leaf, or the water just rolls off the lotus leaf. So Arjuna's whole concern that, I'm going to be contaminated. I'm going to be contaminated if I engage in this fight. I'm going to be covered by sinful reaction. It's sort of like, I'm going to be all dirty. It's like this, of course, if you're engaged, when you're engaging in work, right, whatever your duty may be, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada here translates the word kamini, which means all works or all activities or all actions. He's translating it in his translation of the verse, which is a free translation, not necessarily a literal translation. He's translating it as duty. So when we perform our duty or we engage in work, we get, we can get contaminated by it. It's sort of like you're working away and you're having to I work it down to earth, right? So we run a bunch of stores and you got to deal with the public, and some of our workers, like, they're running a cash register and people come in and maybe you got to deal with some unpleasant people, and it just sort of like affects your mind, or you anyway, like down this kind of pretty much a mode of goodness kind of environment to work in. You can work in other environments where your co-workers are like contaminating you. You're having to talk to them and deal with them, and you're getting influenced by them and hearing what they're saying, and it's contaminating your consciousness in some ways. So but by giving up attachment to the results, to the fruit, and offering it to Krishna, the Supreme Brahman, then whatever sort of contamination there is, whatever adverse effects come from what we're doing, in Arjuna's case, from having to engage in this duty of killing people. So he's running around killing people, he's, getting covered in blood, and there's guts, and there's, there's heads being chopped off and limbs lopped off, and it's just kind of like, oh my God, But Krishna's telling him, no, you'll be just like how water rolls off a lotus. You won't be contaminated by any sinful reactions. So just give up on that idea that this is sinful activity. If you perform your duty, and ultimately it comes down to the conclusion of Bhagavad, just surrender unto me, savadamam prityaja mamekam saranam braja. Just surrender unto me. Give up all varieties of dharma or religion or duty, karma yoga, jnana yoga, whatever. Just give it all up. Just surrender unto me. Sharanam. Mokshayashyami masuchaha. Parityaja. Savadamam prityaja. So just give it up. Mamekam saranam braja. Ham tvam sava papebhyo. Mokshayashyami masuchaha. So just, I will protect you. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. So again, in this 1866, Krishna is saying, I will protect you from sinful reactions. You don't need to worry about it. Masucha, no worries, right? Big Australian saying, no worries, mate. Masucha, just give it up. Don't worry. I will protect you from all sinful reaction. So whatever we're doing, just do it for Krishna, and He'll protect you from sinful reactions. So just serve our spiritual master and Krishna. There is no sinful reaction from it. We don't need to worry about that. It's not binding. So one should work, like Krishna is talking about, karma yoga, working without attachment. Another word for this, sangam. So Krishna is saying sangam tyaktva, give up attachment. So another meaning of the word sangam is clinging. It's like, so attachment or clinging. Right? So normally we're clinging to the results. We're so into what we're doing. We're so attached to the result. We want the result for ourselves. It's mine. I want to enjoy it. It's mine. That's my stuff. That's my results, right? Not yours. So we're clinging to them. We're attached. And so it's this attachment to the results that binds us to this world. It's the desire. Karma yoga is nishkama karma yoga, nishkama, without desire, right? Without attachment to the results. So it's this desire and attachment to the results, and the desire to enjoy the results, and the doing it for my own satisfaction. That's what binds us to this world. Our desires tie us and bind us to this world and create our future. What's creating our future? It's our desires. And what's created our present is our past desires, and our past activities. They create our current situation. This is karma, right? But also sometimes it's called daivam, or destiny. So what is this destiny? It's like, destiny means it's like our karma, our actions and our previous desires. Desires are a subtle form of action or karma. And then the daivam refers to the role that the super soul, Paramatma, and the demigods play in it. The overall providence, arranging things, making it so that we reap the results of our previous activities. So thank you very much. That's a wonderful verse. And next week we shall move on to text 11. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, namaste. Thank you very much, Krishna.